So today it's like 95 degrees. So I figured why not do one of the hardest jobs I've been holding off all summer and change the hydraulic fluid on this skid steer.
They call me Fix Man since I was a kid, because I could fix little things and even things big.
So I read the instructions, and apparently you're supposed to lift the bucket so that when you drain it, you can then drop the bucket with the engine off, and that'll squeeze out the fluid in the cylinders. So it says to do. So we've got the bucket up in the air, and it's a 8 mil hex, and I think there's about 2 gallons, so I've got 2 pans here. We'll go ahead and get this drained, hopefully not spill too much oil on my lawn. Oh yeah, that's why we needed to do it. It was a bit contaminated, I'd say. Okay, that was a nightmare. A book, I'm pretty sure, said it had 2 gallons in it, and I think we've got like 10 or so more gallons. I spilled a lot of hydraulic fluid all over the place. I filled up my toolbox full of hydraulic fluid. That's why all these bits are in here. I got to clean these off. It's a mess. This is a big pain in the ass. So the reason that this hydraulic fluid got contaminated is actually because if rain or snow gets on the floor of this skid steer, it's supposed to drain out the front, but if it's not tipped forward as it's being stored, moisture will settle around this. This is the lid for the hydraulic tank, and moisture can get in. So I think considering pulling this rack, which is attached to this, which is covering the plate, so that we can reseal it and do our due diligence. So I think we'll go ahead and start pulling the bolts and get the top of this cage removed so that we can actually do the seals in that water tank, hydraulic tank. Use our Super Clean, our longest running sponsor, to take care of some of these oil leaks from the cylinder that was starting to leak. Get this all cleaned up. So I was missing one bolt up here for the cage, and then one bolt up here I knew about, but what I didn't know about was that this plate's almost completely loose. No big deal, it's just a cover, but those are the things you find when you take your skid steer apart. In case you were wondering about there's a Kohler power plant. It's got these 2 clutches. These are the 2 motors that are driven, that do the wheel control. And these are the 2 filters, which I'm going to be changing out since I'm doing the fluid. Okay, so we're starting to strip this down. We got these bolts out. There's little bolts on the side holding these in, and with all those bolts out, these come off. Okay, I had to jack up the bucket with a pry bar so it was far enough away from this, and then I can rotate this over the pedal and then out around the pedal. And there's the other one. You helping, bud? Thanks. Okay, next step. Once we get our plates removed, we need to really clean in this groove really good. See how clean that is? There's no gunk. Cleaned out all the crap that was in this crack here because if you look here, see the seal is just between that plate and the tank. So once we open this up, anything that's around the edge is just going to fall in to the tank. So we want the surface really clean so we can work and try not to contaminate the tank as much as possible. So now we'll remove these rods which go over the tank. They're pretty easy. They're just pins at the end, so we'll pull these pins, and then these pedals can stay on. We've got the e-brake disconnected. I think that needs to be disconnected. We'll find out, and then we can pull our bolts. Okay, well that was a little bit unexpected. I thought we were just tapping into a tank that everything drew out of, but apparently they put these motors right in the fluid, and the chains and everything just drive through the fluid, which is kind of nice. Nothing too scary in here. Pretty clean. I don't see any chunks. So I'll probably just do a quick wipe out with these little tiny particles here. The one thing I'm curious about, I mean, you can see we've got some definite areas where moisture could come in. Is that evidence of moisture coming in? Is that? I don't know. The other thing that kind of looked like was, that seems to be a little bit of rust, which would only happen if moisture was getting to it. So I'm real curious whether that's leaking, that pedal hole. So we'll seal that up anyways. Okay, with the cover off, I've started wiping down there was just a little bit of residual sludge in the bottom. You can see this is the e-brake mechanism, which clamps these little brake shoes on these discs. So now we're pulling off the gasket that goes around the tank really carefully, and then we're going to have to make sure we clean up anything that falls down, any dirt that didn't get cleaned up in the first place, and then we will re-clean this edge and make our new gasket, get to sealing this tank back up. Okay, we got our surfaces all cleaned up, cleaned it with a brush and a vacuum, picked everything off, wiped it down with brake clean afterwards and rags, got everything out so the surface is totally clean all the way around. Got our bolts cleaned up too, so we're all good there. We also made sure the bottom of the tank didn't have any debris left from cleaning as best we could. It's hard to get in that little cranny, but everything else we did our best. So we got the plate off, we cleaned it all up with brake clean, scraped it all down first, then cleaned it with brake clean, and then we took off the pedal assembly because I noticed it was pretty swollen. Also, the pedal assembly is where that repair is, that where you think might be leaking because of that rust. So when I went to go do that, no surprise, I snapped the other bolt off. So I think what happened is the last time this came off, it snapped that, so they probably didn't pull it off anymore and just repaired that. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this into the shop. We're going to take a hammer to this, get rid of all this buildup, make sure there's no rust penetrating here. Doesn't look like there is because the inside looks fine. So what we'll do is get rid of all that rust scale, and then we'll weld a new bolt on there. I don't know exactly how I'm going to do it. I think I might not drill through. I might just take a stud and just weld it right to that. So you got some cork gasket material. You've got our old gaskets cleaned and they're laying on here. We're going to trace them out, then take a razor blade, cut them out, and then we can go ahead and put them on the skid steer. Okay, so then I took a piece of steel pipe, I chucked it up in my drill, and I just ran it on my belt sander at an angle while it was running, so I could make this handy dandy cutting tool. So then all I have to do find the mark. Okay, we get the broken stud cut off here. So now all we're gonna do is take this stud and nut and weld it on here, and then give this a coat of paint. We can bolt these pedals back on and get to putting this back on. Okay, this is the stud we get all welded in, no problem. But we look down here at the other stud. This is the one that's welded from the underside that I was suspecting might be leaking because of the rust around there. Well, look at that. See how deep that goes down in there? It goes, it's the depth of that hole is the whole thickness of this plate. So the water was definitely getting down to the head of that nut, and the chances that it was pushing through are just so likely. So we got this really cleaned out good. We're gonna put probably some Flex Seal in here, some caulking. I might even run a little bit of, I should probably just run a welded bead around there to seal that off really good. And then we can paint this and put the pedals back on. Okay, we got our bolts all clean here. We got our pedal all de-rustified. We even made a cork gasket for that, even though there doesn't need to be one. We painted the backside of the bolt where it was leaking. We've got our gasket on here skim coated. Underneath it's skim coated on the actual tank. Now we're gonna skim coat the lid and wait a minute and then flip it over, drop it down and put our bolts on. Okay, we got all of our bolts back in. We're even putting back the bolts that the previous owner didn't want to get the correct wrenches out to get tightened, like this one back in this corner. So I think we are about done. We got this mat custom cut to fit around this and under the pedals. I had been running on top, but now it's underneath. Got our pedals hooked back up, fresh cotter pins and everything. We've got our missing bolts. Got all that back. The only thing we have left to do is put this front cover on and flip the cage back down. But first thing we're going to do is fill it. The one thing that was missing is the boot for the top of this was totally torn. So that was another place that water was getting in, because that's just a hole right into the tank. So this is actually the boot for a ball joint. See that? And it works almost all the way. It'll pop like, it works pretty good, especially when it's sitting. It's totally still. But I'll try to find the correct boot. That's pretty good. Makeshift boot in the interim. As you can see here, that's the aviation sealant. Kind of stays a little wet, but that's all sealed up. Fresh, double check the torque. We've got put our fresh filters in. So we'll go ahead and get this filled, and I've got 15 gallons there, another couple of gallons inside. So we'll start getting this thing filled and get this going again. Okay, there you go. We did it. We transferred 16 gallons. I did these 5 gallons, then one of these 1-gallon containers I got. And transferred in, not a single drop of fluid anywhere around. And then I went to check it, and you can see it's right at the min-max line. So, looks like we're good. Now she's all set to put the cage back on and fire it up and test it. Alright, well we did it. We changed the fluid in this and we changed the seal on the top. A couple other things that were letting fluid in the tank and contaminated that fluid. It's a very expensive fluid, so now we know it's going to be safe from the future on. If you like this video, make sure to check out my other tractor videos and playlist down here for some other videos. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Subscribe if you're not already, and I'll catch you next time. Alright? Now,
Good job, Daddy.